Hello everyone, I hope you all are fine, doing well. So this is our 7th session from the series Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude. Welcome. Let's start with a brief recap of our previous lecture. So we first saw the question, prejudice is the child of ignorance, and we discussed it with the ample examples. I hope it helped you. Okay, then we saw what is a weak attitude or how weakness of attitude is formed. Okay, it is basically a relation between these three factors. Okay, I hope by now you know these things. Okay, cognitive, affective and behavioral component. Okay, then we saw the relationship between attitude and behavior, how attitude affects behavior and when it affects behavior and how much it affects behavior. Okay, we dealt with these two questions. First one was, does our attitude guide behavior? Yes, sometimes it does. It depends on two factors, on the immediate consequences and how other things about us. Okay. Second, how behavior affects the aptitude. We took 7 to 8 examples, I guess, and we saw how behavior affects the attitude. Okay. So when does our attitude guide our behavior? These were the three factors which did that. Okay, we understood who are hypocrite people. Okay, and how behavior affects attitude. These were the examples which I was talking about. Okay, we then saw how to increase the correlation between attitude and behavior. Okay, then there are 6 methods which you can write without an explanation because they are self-explanatory. Okay, we understood what is cognitive dissonance. It is a quite important topic because the attitude and behavior is a matter which is linked in our real life a lot. Okay, we face this a lot. When our attitude changes, our behavior also changes, and our behavior also affects our attitude. So when those things are not in congruence, when attitude is something else and behavior is something else, then what happens? Then cognitive dissonance happens. Okay, so what you believe, okay, how you think is not reflected in your behavior, or you are not able to basically act in a way in which you believe. What will happen? Cognitive dissonance will happen. Okay, then we understood it by 2 examples. Okay, we discussed moral attitude, why it is different from other attitudes. We understood what is political attitude, and we understood left, right, center, moderate, radicals, conservatives. Okay, then we understood, then we had a quick impromptu session on answer writing. We discussed 5 ways internet catalyzes wrong behavior. Okay, anonymity, action at a distance, automation, accessibility, perpetuity. Okay, so these are the things which you can use in your answer directly. We also saw why youth is not so much interested in politics nowadays. Okay, political attitude is sometimes positive towards okay, political attitude is basically positive attitude towards politics or the system of politics, negative attitude or neutral. Okay, neutral is sort of the worst because then you don't really care who comes into power. All right, so now let's come to the question which I gave last time. I hope you have written it, and actually the answer was given in the lecture only. Okay, so we need to understand, the question is asking, what do you understand by cognitive dissonance? Okay, so simply we will as usual follow the structure IBC. Okay, so what do you understand by cognitive dissonance? By giving examples, discuss how it influences one's behavior and attitude. So what will be our structure? Introduction, simply you can start with the definition because it is actually asking you what do you understand by cognitive dissonance. So you can simply define it. Okay, we have already seen the definition. Okay, then we will give it a basically one liner will add in this, that it is mostly felt, it is subjective. Okay, it cannot be seen physically, it's an abstract concept. Okay, anyways, then in the body we will give examples to show how it influences behavior and attitude. Then in conclusion we will say that it is possible to change it, and we'll see the conclusion. Okay, so we'll definitely conclude by showing that yes, it affects behavior and attitude. Okay, and how it can be reduced, we have given that also. So basically it's a for okay, in definition we are going to say that yes, people want less cognitive dissonance in their life. Okay, so in conclusion, we are going to link it to the introduction, that yes, as mentioned before, that people want less cognitive dissonance in their life, so people will try to reduce it. Okay. Alright, so we saw this definition last time. Actually, half of the answer was already there, half, not half even, almost all of the answer was already given. See, cognitive dissonance is basically when your actions don't relate with your thought process. Okay, so basically your attitudes, two attitudes, or your attitude and behavior do not match. And research has confirmed that people want consistency among their attitude and their behaviors. Okay, we had taken an example of butterscotch ice cream, honest civil servant. Okay, we can relate with this, and also we took example of financially stable partner. If you are thinking that I have not taken this in cognitive dissonance, you can relate it with CAB, weak attitude. Okay, and when people have, basically let's say people have strong attitude towards corruption, okay, that means they are not going to indulge in it. So if they are forced to do it, they will face cognitive dissonance. This happens a lot when a young civil servant goes with idealistic mindset and they see that many people are indulging in corruption and many people are actually telling you that it is good for you. Okay, especially in petty corruption. We'll take this example. Okay, in ice cream also you can say that about butterscotch. We took an example, if you remember, about an ice cream. Okay, so those things can be related here. All right. Okay, so let's start with the introduction. Basically, we can simply define it. Okay, which we have already done. We have seen the definition. Okay, so this is the first you define in introduction. You can just simply define it. Okay, and you can say that it is subjective. That is, it is felt and not seen. Okay, because this goes on inside the person's mind rather than on its face, on his or her face. Okay, then we'll come straight to the body, where we will start giving examples of how the behavior and attitude is affected by cognitive dissonance. Okay, so how we will start? We can start with, let's say, we'll take new examples. Okay, smoking. Two examples I have taken yesterday, and these example we'll take today. Okay, so let's talk about smoking. So in cognitive dissonance, if a person has a new a person wants to smoke, but they know that somehow smoking will affect badly on their health, so what they are still smoking. Okay, so they believe, their attitude is negative, but their behavior is they will smoke, results in cognitive dissonance. So how cognitive dissonance now will affect? Okay, now in yesterday we studied that either you change your attitude or your behavior, okay, to reduce the cognitive dissonance. Okay, so to reduce the cognitive dissonance, okay, see, we are studying the effect of cognitive dissonance, and we also studied that people want to reduce it. So how will it affect the attitude or behavior? We studied yesterday that people will either change the attitude or change the behavior. Okay, so if a new research comes in the market by some famous institute which says that smoking, there is no one-to-one relation between smoking and killing. Okay, between smoking and killing, so that person would become satisfied mentally, and then they will not change their behavior. Their attitude will now become positive towards smoking. They will keep smoking. So this is one example of how cognitive dissonance, okay, affects attitude. Another example, if we take of, let's say, of drug addiction. Okay, attitude is, you know, it is bad for you because now you are addicted and it is affecting your health and your relations with your family, friends and everybody else. Behavior is, you want to stop but you cannot. So what do you do? How does, so cognitive dissonance happens, so how will you change now? your attitude is already changed. You want to become drug free, okay, you don't want to be an addict anymore. So what is left to change the behavior? So how will you change the behavior? You will go to drug rehabilitation, drug rehab. You must have heard about this. Yes, you must have heard about drug rehabilitation and all. Okay, so this is how cognitive dissonance can change the behavior. Okay, so now that we have taken example, okay, of each, how it will affect attitude, it will affect behavior. Okay, let's take one more example. Third example we can take of an honest civil servant, because I believe it's an exam. Since it's an exam for UPSC, you need to include one example which is related to civil services. Okay, now if the person is honest, their attitude is of honesty and their behavior is also of honesty, but they still face cognitive dissonance when they go into the service because their behavior is forced. Okay, cognitive dissonance happens because they are forced to take bribes. So what cognitive dissonance happens? So what will they do? Either they will change their attitude or they will change their behavior. So what happens is they are forced, see, they are already forced to change their behavior. Okay, so behavior is going to change, but their attitude, they later on change their attitude that petty corruption is okay. They become basically, or they accept that petty corruption is all right, it does not goes against my morals or ethics. Okay, it is acceptable. Okay, so this is how an honest civil servant can face cognitive dissonance. This happens because, okay, the reason is, this is just hypothetical. So sometimes when they go in a region where there is a lot of corruption, they want to clean it. Okay, they want to clean the street. Okay, they want to make it corruption free. Okay, good, they want to deliver good services, but then they realize there are a lot of vested interests and even their superiors are not supporting their cleanliness drive. Okay, so then it happens that what we read about it, because when you read, cognition part is what you read, what you think, right? Affection part is what you feel. So what they have been taught in training and what they have been taught to think is that corruption is bad, it's a malice, it's a evil and all. Okay, so they are being taught this in the academy, but when they come to the real life, or when they come to the field, okay, they see that many people are basically acceptive of this, they readily accept this culture of corruption. So that leads to cognitive dissonance. Okay, so what will happen? Because cognitive dissonance has already happened, now either they will change their attitude or they will change their behavior. Either they will stand up like Ashok Khemka, or Satyendra Nath Dubey. Okay, so this is how behavior can change. So you have taken 3 examples, you can take and 2 examples you can take from the lecture itself, which the previous lecture. So there are now 5 examples of how cognitive dissonance can affect your attitude or behavior. Okay, so I think these are ample examples, and I think you should remember this one, okay, and any one out of the 4, and you can write it in the exam if any questions comes on cognitive dissonance. Okay, so we have seen what do you understand by cognitive dissonance. By giving examples, we have seen how it affects behavior and attitude. So what is the conclusion? In conclusion, you can write that we have seen it's quite subjective. Okay, because of which it is difficult to measure and quantify. Okay, that is why only a person can change their attitude or behavior. Okay, see why I'm saying this. Although we have studied about drug rehab centers, okay, we have just seen that external factors affect the behavior, but it's up to you. If your attitude is strong, okay, or your behavior is strong, the cognitive dissonance would be able to not change it. Because see what I mean is, like I gave you example of Ashok Khemka, okay, his attitude is very strong towards corruption, so his behavior did not change. He did not, first of all, he did not face any cognitive dissonance. That is also one important thing. He might not have faced it, but somehow I believe everybody faces this dilemma that when other people are doing it, why should not I do it? Okay, so that is also a bit of cognitive dissonance. So everybody faces this, okay, but he was strong enough to go beyond it. Okay, he stuck to his behavior, he stuck to his attitude. Okay. Okay, so the person can only change or they can keep it. That is up to the person. Okay, only external things can only help, can only aid. External things can only aid in the process. Okay, so that is why people need to be taught how to identify cognitive dissonance and choose the right path. And how will they be taught? Simple, by ethical education. Okay. So I hope you have understood that you can reduce the cognitive dissonance by changing attitude or behavior. Okay, because in the end we all seek psychological comfort in life. Alright, so this is the whole point. So just to summarize, in introduction we saw the definition. The question was pretty straightforward and we have already discussed its definition and how it affects. Okay, we have taken 3 new examples. Okay, then we concluded that it is a subjective thing. External things can only aid. So people need to be taught how to identify cognitive dissonance and handle it according to the situation. Okay, or according to the ethical standard of the governance. Alright. Okay. Alright, so this is the answer writing which is over now. We shall move forward. So these are the diagrams which you can draw. Okay, these are basically notes, but it can be seen that how in examination you can write if you are pressed for time. Okay, this is how attitude converts to behavior. It is one of the component as we studied. Okay, traits of moral attitude. Or okay, this is a proper diagram which you can draw in the exam actually. Okay, this is also these are political. This is about political ideologies. Okay, so we shall be starting our 7th session now. Okay, basically we are going to continue with attitude only. We'll see how we can change it. Okay, we'll see few theories about it and lot of examples. Okay, how to change it, how it forms. Basically both are same things. Let me tell you. Formation and changing of attitude is same because the process is same. Okay, just imagine you are trying to change an attitude. It is equal to formation of a new attitude, right? When you're trying to learn some new habit, you are actually changing some old habit. As simple as that. Okay, then we'll come to the last topic, social influence and persuasion. Okay, which is the last topic, and this is the last lecture on attitude. Okay, let's start. So how does it form? As I told you, there is not much difference between formation and change. Okay, if the people change their attitude, they are forming a new attitude, like I just told you. Okay, so attitude basically is formed by stimulus. Stimulus is anything that comes from outside or inside also. Okay, stimulus is basically like a pin which pinches you and you move your arm away from the pin. Okay, so stimulus can be internal or external. Internal means it can come from your thought. External means it can from outside. Okay, so attitude is formed by some stimulus, some stimuli. Stimuli is singular. Sorry, this is plural. Stimulus is singular. Okay, so now we are going to see what are the prominent theories about attitude formation. Okay, the first one is Pavlov. Okay, Pavlovian conditioning or classical conditioning. Okay, in this what happened was, basically when two stimuli, okay, they are repeatedly associated with each other. Okay, stimuli 1 associated with stimuli 2. Okay, a person, anyone a person learns, okay, to respond to them with similar emotional reaction. Okay, let's see how. See, Igor Pavlov was a person, okay, he struck a bell, घंटी बजाता था, okay, whenever he wanted to feed the dogs. Okay, so the dogs learn to associate the bell, okay, the sound of it with food. Okay, so after a while, when he just rang the bell, the dog used to think that they are going to get food, and they used to basically respond by drooling. Okay, saliva used to flow from their mouth. Okay, so this is how you condition two behaviors. Okay, how do you link two behaviors? How do you link two stimulus? Okay, similarly, if we see it an example in our, let's say, childhood, how do parents teach something? Stealing, bad. Okay, whenever you steal, you get a beating. Okay, so you relate those two stimulus. Okay, another example can be when parents say something, right? Like people of this any community, people of any community are bad or good. Okay, or they are aggressive or passive, or clean or unclean. When children see or hear their parents linking some community with such words in their childhood, okay, in their childhood, because in the childhood the brain develops, that is the main socialization period. So when children hear their parents linking some bad word or good word with one community or any community, they come to basically join that feeling of good or hate, good or bad, love or hate with that community, right? And worst part is that child might not even have a bad experience with that community. Okay, so let me summarize this. Let me say that when a child hears their parent link good word with some community, okay, the child develops a sense that is the people from that community are good. And similarly, if parents use bad word, okay, bad, I'm not saying they will use the actual word bad, they can say anything like unclean, okay, with the community. You can easily guess this happens a lot in caste in India. Okay, link with some communities, so that person develops basically a negative attitude, okay, negative thinking towards whom? That community. Okay, and the worst part is the child might not even have met them, right? So this is how conditioning is done. Okay, Pavlovian conditioning. Okay, this is the first one. The second method is instrumental or operational conditioning. Okay, so if the behavior which is done by you, okay, here, pardon me, I would like to give one more example. Just click me. Female feticide. Okay, since this is termed as quite negative, right? So people at one place started practicing of celebrating birth of female. Okay, celebrating. One stimulus is celebration. Okay, the other stimulus is female fit. Oh, I'm so sorry. Not female feticide, birth of a female. So sorry. Birth of a female was considered negative, okay, which led to actually female feticide. That's what I wanted to say. But now it has been replaced with celebration. Okay, so how was this done? Okay, that led to actually development of positive attitude. Okay, so giving birth to a child was started and celebrated. Okay, scratch that. So a birth of a female child getting started, celebrated. Okay, that led to development of positive attitude. Okay, all right, now we come to this. So basically using reward and punishment. This means basically this method, instrumental method, means using reward and punishment. See, the behavior or attitude, okay, which leads to positive consequences, okay, people will follow that more, and that is enforced on their subconscious. Okay, and people are more likely to repeat it. And similarly, the behavior or attitude that leads to negative consequences, that is suppressed. by the person. Okay, so if the outcome is positive, your behavior will be strengthened, and if it is negative, it will be suppressed. Simple as that. Okay, so what example can we take? If you find a wrongdoing in some basically branch, okay, of your office, and you report it to your supervisor, but the person orders you, the supervisor orders you to mind your own business. So the next time what you will do, you will obviously suppress it because you got a negative response, right? Your attitude was an honesty, but you got a negative response, so that has led to suppression of the honesty, right? Similar thing can be if a parent praises a child for something. A parent praises a child for something, the child develops a positive attitude towards it. Okay, similarly, if a parent scolds the child, they develop a negative attitude, they will try to avoid it. Okay, so this is the general thing. So basically, example here which I've written is related to studies. If you are scoring good marks and the parent actually praises you, you will, parents and even your teachers, then you will increase your efforts towards studies. Okay, and some parents do not actually appreciate that much. They are basically silent types or whatever it is. For some reason, parents do not acknowledge their achievements. Okay, so the child might develop a neutral attitude, either a neutral attitude or a negative attitude towards studies, that they are not praising me for my efforts, why should I put in so much efforts. Okay, so they will start lacking in class or something else. Okay, or they will just pass the exam, they will not put in special efforts. That is the basically outcome. So if praise is done, the child might put in more efforts. If there is no praise or basically ignorance, the child will obviously get demotivated and not do it. Okay, now we come to the next theory, which is observational learning. Basically, people observe other people, okay, in their life, like relatives, family, okay, friends, and they try to imitate them. Okay, and they see if it is if the people are getting punishment for them, they will not imitate it. Okay, if they get a reward for it, they will, the child or anyone will imitate it. Okay, so you change your behavior depending on the outcome of the action taken by other people. Okay, this also includes how children imitate parents. Why? Because they think parents are always right, and obviously parents see that even not even right, the child is actually not having a sense of right or wrong till, let's say, 10 to 15 years. Okay, after that they develop a sense of right and wrong. Till then they are just blindly following the parents because parents are the most available role models in their life, right? Okay, generally I'm speaking. Okay, so children imitate their parents, or and you observe others behavior, okay, and how it leads to negative or positive consequences, you adopt it. As simple as that. Okay, example is, if one example is about children. Okay, like I've also told you that I saw my father giving them, he received more money from the shopkeeper, so he returned the extra money. So that is an act of honesty which I learned. Okay, then I saw that this is how we should do it. That child, and when I was at that behavior, I might not when I was at that age, I might not even realize this, that it is right or wrong. I just did it because my father did it, as simple as that. Okay, same happens with patriarchal attitude and having a weapon in the house. Okay, if people don't keep it locked, the children will easily get access to it and use it because the father uses it or mother uses it, whatever. So the child does not have the sense of right or wrong, at least till their teen years. Okay, example is, if your subordinate is basically bootlicking or is a yes man or a yes woman, okay, and they are getting basically promotions or getting called to parties by the boss, getting special assignments, you will also feel inclined to do the same. Okay, let's come to the fourth principle, basically genetic factors. Okay, these also shape the attitudes. Basically, they will affect some attitudes more than some other attitudes. Okay, they affect some attitudes more than they don't influence this all attitudes in the same way. Okay, this is I've kept in 4 because it is not that important, but still it is good enough to know. So genetic factors also play a role of in shaping the attitude of a person. Okay, let's say it's about some food. Okay, if you have high metabolism, you will eat any kind of food. Okay, and if you have a slow metabolism, you might avoid or you will avoid sugary foods. Okay, the Coca-Cola and all. Okay, burgers and so on. Okay, let's move on. Okay, these are some other examples. Okay, direct instruction, modeling, social comparison. See, direct instruction can be understood as by a parent to a child, as simple as that. Many parents teach directly to their students, and this is also influenced by role models or teachers. They directly say, right, about polio, let's say, right? Amitabh Bachchan did campaigning for polio, so it was direct instruction. Okay, like do this, do that. Okay, basically they are taught. Okay. In modeling, basically you are influenced by some person, like I just told you, role model. Okay, or basically it can be anyone, parent, historical figure, media figure like Bollywood or Hollywood, whatever it is. Okay, so basically children's role model is most of the time is parents. Alright, social comparison, basically in this you compare yourself. Okay, and after comparison, if you see that if you are basically your behavior is equal to the majority, you feel fine. Okay, and if it is not equal to the majority, you want to join the majority. Okay, this leads to herd mentality. So this is how your attitude changes. If your attitude and behavior is conforming with the majority, okay, because see, majority wins. So basically people think that whatever most people are doing is correct, and everybody is guilty of that, and that is right sometimes, and sometimes it is wrong also. Okay, but we are not going to into that. That's not our topic of discussion. That is beyond the scope. But basically people consider that whatever majority of people are buying or selling or doing is correct. Okay, like the destination weddings. Okay, many people are doing it, so everybody wants to do it. So people want to be regarded as in the majority. Okay, so we have seen, I think 6 to 8 theories of attitude formation. Okay, now these are also, or these can also be used in changing an attitude. Okay, this is, I just told you that it is about formation. Okay, these theories can also be included in changing the attitude. Okay, now another way of changing an attitude is by changing its functions. We have read about these 4 functions. I am not going to explain them again. Okay, we have studied about them, okay, with good examples. So we will just see the application now. We will take 2-3 examples and we will see the applications of this topic. Okay, one thing I'd like to tell you, if anytime you want to change someone's attitude, first focus on changing their affective or emotive part. Okay, hriday parivartan, focus on this. Okay, because if you try to reason with some people, they will justify with their own reason. Okay, people tend to retaliate, okay, when you try to change their cognitive component first. Okay, they tend to retaliate. Okay, because when you give them reason, they will give their own reason to you. Okay, so basically you must have seen why so much deodorants are sold, because they link with emotion rather than reason. Okay, and everybody knows that they evaporate very soon, right? So why, but still they are sold so much. Okay, and now everybody relates Axe hai kya? They ask you, is it Axe deodorant? Okay, so all these things are related to emotion. Okay, some advertisements will show you the cognitive part also, but first they will try to relate that it will change you in this way, it will make you stronger and all that. Then they will tell you that it has this jadi booty or that jadi booty. So basically first, every time advertisements try to change the behavior or attitude towards something by appealing to your emotions, and then they focus on cognitive. Okay, so let's now see some examples. Okay, like let's see smoking example. Okay, we have taken it before, so you will be able to relate to it quickly. Okay, in the cognitive part, you can tell them that it forms star. You obviously have seen the ads that play in the theaters before movies, right? So in that they show that smoking is basically it kills. Okay, there comes an ad wherein a child is in the room and the father is smoking. Okay, so such ads are shown to appeal to your cognitive part. Okay, they tell you that there is star in it. Okay, then they show you the ad, sorry, the part where father is sitting with the child. That is emotional part. Okay, so now come to the emotional part. They show photos of lungs and all, the damaged lung, okay, on cigarette packs. 80 to 85% coverage is there. Okay, smoking cause impotency also, they also display that. Okay, then they show that the family is crying over the death of the person, right? So this is how they appeal to the emotional part. How do how can you change their behavioral component of the attitude? Basically you can increase the price of cigarettes, you can ban them. Okay, basically like in India, smoking is banned in public places. So this is how you can support the attitudinal change. But what about the functions? Like these are the functions, right? Adjustment, ego defensive, value expressive, knowledge function. Okay, how do you change that? People think that smoking makes them cool. Okay, so when you change the function, see, one thing is value expressive, so you change their value, okay, that it is not cool anymore. Okay, you change their knowledge by saying that it will lead to death. Okay, ego defensive function, why that cool one. Okay, so sorry. So all these things can be changed in function department. Okay, so you create a negative attitude, okay, towards smoking in society, in the whole society. Okay, you remove the cool effect, this will destroy the functions part of attitude. Okay, in the smoking example. Okay, so once you destroy the functions that is played by smoking in the attitude, you will destroy that and you will change it, and people will tend to change the behavior more than this. Okay, let's take another example. Let's take Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Okay, see, if in exam, if you cannot remember the functions part of it, you can write the CAB part. Okay, CAB, don't write, you can write emotive, but it's better to write effective. So you can write in exam the CAB part if you are not able to remember the functions part. Okay, still the answer will work. So let's see about Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Okay, in the cognitive part you tell this is the knowledge part, belief part. Okay, so what do you tell them? You tell them it is bad for you, there are health consequences. Okay, your lungs will basically it's not good for GDP also, health consequences are there. Then you focus on the emotion. What do? You say that it is unclean. Okay, what you do is unclean. Okay, you basically put shame on them. Okay, so you can also tell that it is not good for women dignity. Okay, then what about the behavioral part? How do you support that? By providing them toilets. Simple. Okay, by having some schemes like Kayakalp scheme. All right, so this is how you can actually change some attitude. I hope you have understood this topic. Okay, so change in attitude due to its function, we have seen one example. Okay, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan we have related, and there is also an odd even scheme. basically cognitive, affective, behavior. You tell them that it affects GDP, okay, it affects your lungs, it affects your children's lung, and so on. Okay. Then in emotional part, like I told you, Delhi government started giving flowers. In the behavioral part, you support that by increasing public transport, okay, frequency of metro, and so on. In the functional part, you can say that people can look down upon them, okay. People can look down, or people who are traveling alone in a car and not doing carpooling, okay, they can basically like Delhi government gave flowers, they can also look down but give them sympathy that you don't know enough, okay, you are unaware, something like this, not being sarcastic to them but genuinely telling that you are doing something which is leading to your own demise, things like that. Okay, all right, let's move on. Why do you need to study attitude? Okay, or why do you need to understand the importance of attitude change? Okay, this if asked in exam you can simply think about this. Okay, as why do we deal with, okay, why am I teaching you all this? Okay, why am I teaching some varied topics? Because as I've told you before, we need to cover in width, okay, not in depth. So we need to touch a lot of topics before we can move on from a topic, okay, or we need to touch on many subtopics before we move on to the another topic. Okay, so why study attitude or importance of attitudinal change? See, if you can change the attitude, you will change the behavior of people. Okay, since we have studied about relation between attitude and behavior, okay, so now you will able to appreciate more that why attitude needs to be changed at some places, because we need to change the behavior, and if we change enough behavior, the society or nation is changed. Here you can quote example of Rajaram Mohan Roy about sati. Okay, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, although it is a work in progress, but still it has achieved a lot, right? Odd even scheme. Okay, chalo. Okay, see examples. Advertisement. When you see ad, you change an attitude. You might change your own attitude toward buying something. Okay, so via ads, people change people's attitude and make them buy something. Okay, another example is mass campaign. To get somebody support, you have to change their attitude. Okay, like against Chinese product. So people, like this recently happened, right, after the border skirmish. So this is how attitudes change and help you achieve something. Okay, so attitudinal change is actually used by advertisements, by in also it is used in mass campaigns. Okay, all right, so this was in the normal perspective, okay, usual public perspective. Why? But we need to understand it in the perspective from the administrative perspective. That is important because this is a UPSC exam, so we need to understand how it is applicable to bureaucracy. So basically, why some policies still fail? Because people's attitude has not changed. So how to change attitude of the people, even though we have given so many schemes and all? So the answer is this: information and educational communication campaigns. Why? To increase public awareness. Like I showed you, like how advertisements and mass campaign change the attitude. In the similar way, we can change the attitude of the people from the administration side by using IEC campaigns. Okay, so let's take some examples. In national skill policy, people who do post graduation, they think that they are now a postgraduate person, so they will sit at home rather than learning welding, because they look down upon welding as a vocation. Okay, so that leads to less enrollment in skill development programs by governments. Okay, so basically, despite all the schemes and policies, how to change the attitude? Because even though we have given them a lot of things, still they are not doing what we expect them to do. The reason is attitude. So people who have done post graduation, this is actually a real life thing, they are not actually going to welding schools and all, because they feel that when we have done so much education, why do we need to learn a small thing? Okay, so basically no job is small does not apply to their own mind, their minds. So for them some jobs are really small. So this is the wrong attitude, right? No job is small. If it is giving you enough to feed your stomach and take care of your family, no job is small enough. Okay. Similarly, in midday meal, how do you change the attitude? Okay. See, cook may be of any caste, right? Still the child will eat. Although people have done protest, and this has also come in UPSC examination, that I don't remember correctly, but maybe it's the DM of the district who went and ate the food made from the cook's hand. Okay, to dispel the myth that that food was unclean. Okay, so students from all caste and religion sit together and eat. Hence, a child develops an attitude of tolerance, inclusiveness towards other caste and religions. Okay, this happens a lot of places, but reverse also happens. Okay, but yes, again, step can be taken. See, wherever there is an issue, UPSC will ask something, but now you know what to write, and now you know where is the actual issue. Okay, so thus attitude change is important for civil servant, because he or she is the leader, he or she is the policy maker in the society. Okay, so this is why it is so important for a civil servant to learn how to change attitude. Okay, please remember the CAB structure, that is the basic of everything, of how to change things. You reason with them, you emotionally appeal to them, and you provide avenues for their behavioral change. Okay, you support their behavior change. Okay, so I hope you have understood this topic. Let's move on to our last topic. So our next topic is social influence. Okay, this is our last topic, like I just said. So social influence. See, we are a social animal, as you all know. Okay, humans are social animals. Okay, we live in a society, we live in a social world, because we interact with each other. Okay, nobody is living in basically a society and getting everything over there. The person goes out to a job, the person goes out for a shopping, the person has friends. Okay, so we live in a social world, right, where our feelings, okay, our thoughts or our behavior, okay, our feelings, thoughts, behavior, our belief, attitude and behavior is affected. Okay, since we live in a social world, so by presence of other people, our behavior, attitude and all get affected. So it's a process, okay, by which people affect directly or indirectly your thoughts, feelings and actions. Okay, it is going on, it has been going on since the dawn of human civilization, and it is an important part of our life still, and it will keep going on, because as I told you, we live in a social world, right? So this effect can be positive, okay, that is helpful. It can be negative, where it is destructive, or it can be neutral also, where there is no effect. Okay, so social influence is a process by which people affect each other's behavior. You can remember this photo as an example. Okay, everybody is linked. All right, so how do you get influenced? Okay, sorry for that. How you get influenced? Okay, so these are some of the ways by which we get influenced in our daily life. Okay, from birth to death, we get influenced socially by other people. So these are the few ways by which we get influenced. Okay, so if in exam, most probably, see, theoretically, not the theory has not been asked yet in the examination. They ask, how do you influence others, like how to change your attitude by social influence. Okay, so this is an important unit, because as we will go on and read about persuasion in detail, you will get to know how to change other people's attitude. Okay, that is very important. Okay, so directly question can come in a practical way, not in a theoretical way, like what are the different ways by which you can do it. Better is to ask of you how you will influence someone. So they will ask you to change something, change an attitude like caste based discrimination or Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, let's say, or odd even scheme. Such social examples will be asked of you, and they will ask you how you will change the attitude towards it, or how will you influence people. Okay, so let's start. We will study this in brief, but we will understand it properly and with examples. So what is conformity? It's basically an alignment with the normative standard of a group. Why? Because you want to become part of the group. Normative, basically norms, following the norms of a group. So you follow norms of a group, okay, to become part of the group. Okay, like what? Like following or wearing t-shirts to become part of a social group around your, let's say, in society. Okay, wearing uniforms by teachers, while wearing uniform for cricket or football. Okay, those are all norms of the group, right? So basically, to live in a society, we do change our attitudes. Like what? Like Kha Panchayat. If you want to survive in that village, you follow the attitude of that group. So basically, you change your attitude and follow the attitude of the group to become part of that group. Okay? Alright. So moving on to reactance. This is basically the opposite of conformity. It is anti-conformity. Okay? In this you challenge the group. Okay, basically this is done by children a lot of times, okay, but adults also do that. Okay, so this is called reactance. You react to it. You are anti-conformist. Like basically, if you tell a child to sit, that child might not sit, or if you tell a child to not play video games at night, that child might actually play the video games. Okay, this also happens in western side toilet seats. Couples will know, okay, about keeping the toilet seat up and down. Okay, that issue. So reactance is basically challenging the group and their norms. Okay, or challenging the person who is imposing or who is trying to influence you. Okay, socialization, I think you understand this because we have done this in detail. Okay, you know, socialization is a process by which you learn the rules of the society, and this is done by many factors like family, peer group, educational institutions, and so on. Okay, so what these do? They influence your attitude by giving you an attitude of, let's say, patriarchy, or not or basically, see, one family might give their children the attitude of patriarchy, one family might give of gender equality. Okay, one family might give their children, their female child, an attitude of glass ceiling. Okay, like the father or mother might say that it is difficult for girls to do this, you cannot do this, you will it will be very difficult for you to become the CEO, and the girl goes out to the world and starts working and then sees this also, that this is actually happening in real life. So that girl develops an attitude of glass ceiling, right? So this is how socialization affects your attitude. Okay, it influences you. All right, what is obedience? I think you already might be understanding this. Okay, it means yielding to an explicit authority, okay, or an order from the authority. And this is obvious that they will have an authority over you, they are above you. Okay, like what? Parents. Okay, you follow their instructions, okay, because of moral obedience. Okay, biological obedience, basically they are your biological parents, or if somebody is adopted, they follow their parents guardians advice or order because of moral obedience. Okay, one of the worst examples is Nazi people following the advice of or following the order of Hitler, and due to the obedience killing Jews during World War II. Right? And you might have seen that obedience is quite a lot prevalent in Indian people because children obey a lot of their parents, right? Even if the parent is not right. So obedience is found in India a lot. Okay, so this is one of the ways these are few ways by which you can influence people. Leadership, I think you can relate to this. This does not need any definition. Basically, you get affected, your attitude and behavior gets affected by the leadership and what they follow. Okay, best example, Abraham Lincoln. Okay, his attitude towards slavery, okay, and his effort led to abolition of it. Okay, so he changed attitude of people, definitely, right? Then what else? Abraham Lincoln we have covered. Okay, now what? T.N. Session, okay, E. Sridharan. They were so influential that they changed the way the organization under them worked. Okay, they developed a sense of discipline. Okay, so all these things, why? Because the leadership also influences people, right? Obviously we can take example of Mahatma Gandhi, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, uh, Swami Vivekanand. Okay, so all these are leaders. They also influence and build your attitude towards something. If they tell you that something is wrong, that thing you will start believing to be wrong, right? That is why leaders, like, or let's say role models, are used to influence behavior. Like Modi ji recently, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, not recently but under Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, he and many other political leaders and let's say movie stars, they were made role models. And under the transformational leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister, the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan has basically influencing every part of our society now. Okay, because before 2014 we knew open defecation was happening, but did we have such an attitude towards it? No. So this transformational leadership of the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, created this influence in people's mind, right? He there's obviously, I think you remember, there is a photo of him using the broom, right? So basically by action he influenced people. Okay, now we'll come to persuasion. Persuasion is, we will see in detail, so I have not written anything over here. This is our next topic. So we'll be taking persuasion. This is one of the most important part, that is why it is specifically mentioned in the syllabus. So please remember that we have discussed this in brief, because if a question comes, it will directly ask you to apply it by changing some moral attitude or influence the people. Okay, basically, okay, one more thing. Whenever such a question comes, please remember that only influence is not always basically effective. We need some carrot and stick approach. Carrot plus stick. Carrot is basically you influence them by saying that this is good for you and all that. Stick basically rules and laws. Like Maharashtra banned plastic, Kerala banned plastic, Gujarat has banned alcohol, such things. Okay, so please remember that always influence is not sufficient. You need to provide avenues wherein you put legal actions also. Okay, so always remember in answer, if you want to show a complete answer or write a complete answer, then you need to remember that influence, let's say, is one component which influences behavior. The situation or the behavior can also be influenced by the rules and laws. Okay, so that is a complete holistic behavior change path. All right. Okay, so let's move on to persuasion. All right, so our last topic is persuasion. Okay, see, basically persuasion is simply an attempt to change a person's attitude. Okay, it's a step. There are many things in it, there are many models, okay, many tools to do so. Okay, that is why we are reading it in depth, and that is why UPSC mentioned it, because it's an attempt to change a person's attitude. Okay, so not just even a person, also a group's attitude can also be changed. Okay, so your attitude towards some object, event or person is changed via persuasion. Okay, it is done by relating with your emotions. Okay, by arising emotions out of you. Okay, by appealing to your reason. Okay, and it is done by mostly a credible source. Okay, someone would be doing, right? Someone would be doing it to someone. Like in this photo, someone is doing it to someone, right? So persuasion is basically an attempt to change the person's attitude. Okay, and it is done by a credible source. All right, so many a times it is used to stop changing of attitudes also, not always to change an attitude, but also to stop changing of an attitude. Okay, so this is a model of the steps you can follow. All right, so this was given by William J. Maguire. Okay, he proposed a 6-step model of persuasion. Okay, basically it is not necessary to remember, okay, all this, but it is important to understand how you can change something. There are 2 or 3 main factors. Okay, there is the speaker. This is I'm telling about overview. Okay, I'm telling an overview about persuasion. There is a speaker, there is a message, and there is an audience. Okay, and how to do it, that is the models. Okay, by what steps you can follow and what tools you can use, we'll see that in the upcoming slides. Okay, so Maguire gave us a 6-step model. So first of all, you need to present something. Okay, you need to present your message. Then the audience which is sitting over there, okay, that will receive the message, okay, by paying the attention. Okay, they pay attention and receive the message. Then they comprehend it, they try to understand it. Okay, what you have said to them. Okay, audience tries to understand what the speaker has said. Okay, then receiver or the audience accepts the argument. Okay, agrees with it, they yield. Okay, then they basically here they just agree with it. Okay, then they retain the message in the memory. Okay, they do not forget it once they leave the, let's say there is an political rally, they don't forget the argument once they leave the rally. Okay, they remember it. Now the receiver in the end applies it in their behavior. Okay, they behave in the way the audience, they behave in the way the speaker was telling them to behave. Okay, so first of all the speaker presents the idea, then the audience pays attention to it, they try to understand it, they agree with it, they retain it in their long term memory, and then they start behaving like that, like the message said. Okay, for example, climate change, old attitudes are quite strong in it. Okay, people are saying that it is not real. Can you imagine, even though there is a lot of science behind it, people still are not able to believe it. Why? Because they have an attitude problem. Then, and we need to persuade them. How will you persuade them? You will tell them that you need to leave the old thinking, old attitude that climate change is not there. Okay, then you need to grab their attention, you need to argue with them, then they will agree with you, then they will retain, and then they will change the behavior. Okay, so since old attitudes are very strong, you need to be very persuasive. Okay, because that is why they are not adapting to the new norm, right? New norm of climate change. Many people are not adapting to it. Okay, so they see, what happens is you try to give them message. Okay, you try to present your message, but they do not retain it. That is why their behavior is not changing. So now that you know what are the steps involved in persuasion by Maguire's model, you can rectify your approach of persuasion. Okay, so basically I wanted to give you an example of how issues is happening in climate change. People are not changing because the old attitude is quite strong, and they need to be persuaded, not just emotionally but logically, and we'll see how that is done. Okay, now this is another model. Okay, this is called elaboration likelihood model of persuasion. Okay, basically it's a theory which describes changing of attitudes, how attitudes are changed. This model wants to, or basically aims to explain that how we process different stimuli. Okay, and how it leads to, or the effect of this process on attitude change. Okay, so stimuli comes, you process it, and attitude changes or not, we'll see that. Okay, so this is the basically the model. So there are 2 routes in it, central route and peripheral route. Okay, there are 2 ways by which persuasive message is processed. Okay, like I said here, you give a stimuli, this is a stimuli, a stimuli comes from here, and processing happens by these 2 methods. Okay, so basically one is central method, another is peripheral method. Okay, messages which are delivered for persuasion may be processed either spontaneously, which is the peripheral, okay, or they are processed thoughtfully, like full attention is paid, things pro and cons are analyzed. Okay, all right. This is actually also called heuristic systematic model. Heuristic is peripheral, H-E-U-R-I-S-T-I, heuristically, heuristic or systematic model. Most probably questions from this unit will come on application of these models. Okay, so we will see examples, don't worry about it, but you need to understand how the actual persuasion happens. Okay, so this is the persuasive message. Okay, here the processing is done by two paths, okay, central or peripheral. Okay, then outcome comes. Okay, the attitude change. Okay, is it long lasting or temporary? Okay, I'll explain it to you. See, in peripheral, okay, when you basically do not think too much, peripheral basically means outside type thing, okay, which is not very central, which is not very focused. Okay, so not analytical, you do not focus on the message, so the change is temporary. In the central processing, you analyze it, you see its plus and minus, you see long term effects. Okay, you carefully evaluate the message or anything which you are trying to achieve or get. Then the outcome is long lasting change, because once you decide by such careful thought, when you decide something like preparing for UPSC, it is obviously not a peripheral thought process. Sorry, it is a central thought process. Okay, so if you decide to prepare for UPSC, you would have easily thought about 1 to 2 months or maybe even 6 months. So now you are preparing for it. Now you have invested, let's say, 6 months or maybe 1 year till now. Okay, some people might have invested 2 years till now. Okay, so the outcome, okay, will be long lasting. Okay, let's say you started in this year. Okay, January 2020 you started preparing, and you decided that, okay, you might have decided you decided to prepare in January 2020, and from this prelims which has happened in this month. Okay, so from this month you started preparing for 2021. Okay, so easily people take this much time, collection of books and all that, and start preparing usually before the next year's prelims, okay, which will be in 2021. Okay, so this is how we decide. Okay, I'll give you two good examples. Let's say advertisement containing baby products. Okay, so in that, see, the ad most probably will be peripheral one. Let me tell you how. Okay, so advertisement containing baby products. See, advertisements, these type of advertisements often invoke let's say positive response in parents, okay, to persuade them to buy the products. Okay, this is the result. Okay, so why do they do that? They don't need to see, it's just a 15-second or 30-second ad. Okay, but you just see the advertisement simply says that buy this, it is good for your baby, that's it, and you do not focus on the message much. You just see in the ad you see a happy mother and a happy kid. Okay, then you think that you want to be a happy mother or a happy father, whatever it is, but most ads, such ads are targeted toward mothers. So you will be feeling happy, you will be thinking about it just for a second and thinking, oh yes, I want to feel this way. You don't actually think it, but you feel it. Okay, this is a very subconscious thing. So you see smiling faces all around, so you attach that smiling faces thing with the product, so you go and buy it. Okay, similarly, another example of peripheral is having pictures on cigarette packs or BD packs or whatever it is. So on that pack, if there is a dark picture of lung or basically throat cancer photo, so that will repulse you. Okay, so even though you might be in like say 50-50 mood to drink a smoke a cigarette, you will avoid it most probably. Okay, so this is all reactionary, when you think for a less time and react. Okay, so that is why change is temporary. And if sometimes you are under stress, so and you are feeling like you have to smoke the cigarette, you will obviously take it out and smoke it even though the pictorial warning is there. Okay, so that is why the change is temporary. Okay, similarly, one more example, let me tell you. When you buy a biscuit, since they are cheap, you won't do any market research, you will just go and buy it. okay, like Parle-G. Okay, let's take example of central route. I think I hope you have understood the peripheral one, wherein you don't think much. Okay, you just buy it quickly, or get your attitude changes quickly. So in this route, when you buy, let's say, a home or a car, you will do analysis like market research of various products that are available. You will go to various societies. I know I did, okay, in both the things. When I bought a car and a home, I did a lot of research, okay, because it was a lot of money, as simple as that, right? So you do a lot of analysis, okay. So, and here persuasion will be difficult, okay, because you will be analyzing it carefully, and not, you will not get persuaded so easily. You might have also seen this, car salesman does a lot of uh, makes you matlab, they count a lot of plus of the car that they are selling you. They the home seller salesman also tries to persuade you, there is a gym over here, there is a swimming pool, there is a lot of facilities, amenities, but the house is small, so most probably you are not going to buy it. Or if you want amenities, you will buy the flat for amenities, but that is not the case. Mostly people focus on the size of the house, okay. So the persuasion is not that effective in this, or basically difficult it would be. It won't be that easy. It won't be like playing a 30-second ad, okay. So but once you are convinced, you will buy that house, okay. And sometimes it doesn't even matter when you go and buy a car. You, if you have experienced that, you do all your research beforehand, and even though the salesman is trying to sell you, you will, or you have already made up your mind, so you will just go and buy it. Sometimes you don't need even ask them to sell it to you. You just you know already, you have done your research, and you go and buy it, okay. Similarly, if your attitude is changed via the central route for anything, it will have a long lasting impact. Like for sati, it took a long time for it. Child marriage, it is taking a long time, okay. People's attitude is still not changed against it. Similarly, if for let's say democracy, once your attitude changes through central path, okay, you will have a long lasting decision on it, okay. That can be anything, if you want to favor democracy or not favor democracy, okay, that's up to you. But I'm just telling that some things which you think a lot, that will have a long lasting impact on you, okay. And this is why people craft their messages very carefully, especially in politics, like pro development, okay, anti corruption. Because if there is an anti corruption atmosphere going on in the country, then people will think with peripheral one and quickly decide and vote in that for that party which is promising that. All right, so that is how people are basically affected, they're persuaded rather, okay. So I hope you have understood these two parts, okay. Now persuasion, as I told you, it's an attempt to change a person's attitude, okay. Now whenever you try to persuade someone, there are three factors on which it depends that if the person will get persuaded or not. The first one is source, okay. Source means the person who is actually the speaker, okay, or the message giver. Also, it a lot of things depends on the way the message is delivered. Like you can say Man Ki Baat. Why Prime Minister is delivering through All India Radio? Because the medium also matters, okay. All right. So the source is the person from which the message is coming, and the message, you understand what it is. Target is the target audience, okay. So let's understand them one by one. Source is, like I said, the person who delivers the message, okay, who is trying to persuade the people. So a person who has high trustworthiness, okay, that will have an effect, basically more effect on the target audience. For example, after a terrorist attack, religious leaders are asked to ask devotees to maintain peace, okay. Religious leaders ask devotees to maintain peace because people are more likely to follow the order of the religious guru, right, rather than DM or DC's order at that time, when, because people's emotions are charged, right, and with the religious leader emotions are more linked, okay. Also, let's say Amitabh Bachchan was roped in for polio. Why? Because of trustworthiness. Okay. Now expertise. See, this expertise can be real or perceived. That means perceived, where you see this in Colgate ad or in any toothpaste ad, it is always a person who is wearing a white coat or apron, basically not apron exactly but a coat. Okay, they pretend to be dentist, right? They pretend to be dentist, so that's why the expertise is perceived. Okay, now the real expertise, let's say you are dealing with some medical problem and you go to a proper doctor, so that is actual expertise, है ना? So expertise also depends. If the doctor has high qualifications, you try to go to them, right? So expertise, on the level of expertise also decides the force of persuasion. Okay. Likability, I think this is pretty straightforward. Okay, if a person is seen that they are from your area, okay, or seen as attractive or similar to you, there comes a halo effect on them. Okay, people, because halo effect is basically people assume that since they are attractive or likable, okay, they also have, or they are also intelligent. That is why many times when Bollywood people smoke or drink, people tend to follow it. Okay, because they thought that they're likable, so they must be intelligent and they must be knowing what to do. That is why another debate springs up, that should celebrities be responsible for the products they endorse. Okay, similarly, that is not in the syllabus, but I'm just telling you. So likability factor also increases the force of persuasion. Okay, let's move on to the message part of it. See, the message should be simple, as message should be simple enough to be understood, but it also depends on the audience you are delivering it to. Okay, so if an audience is not that intelligent, you deliver a simple message. Like in a village, a politician will say, vote for me, I'm from your caste. But in an urban area, the politician might say, can you think of anything? Politicians might say that this is the list of what I have done for your area, please vote for me. Okay, so the message changes according to the target audience. Okay, so message can have many basically faces. Okay, all right, so the message should be simple, okay, compared to the capacity of the audience. Okay, and it is important because the nature of message is important because it provides the information on which the attitude change will happen. Okay, and it should be clear and comprehensible depending on the level of audience, which I just told you. Okay, so for an example, like in the Gadar movement, they simplified the drain of wealth theory in their pamphlets. Okay, and another example can be catchy slogans like सबका साथ सबका विकास. Okay, then कुछ नहीं देखा तो कुछ नहीं देखा, sorry, कच्छ नहीं देखा तो कुछ नहीं देखा. This is a Gujarat tourism slogan. Okay, so message is very important in the way it is told. Like, just relate with me. If you have Diadmi IS has a credible banking. Okay, banking in the sense it has credibility. So you have joined our class. Okay, so you trust it. So the message that I'm delivering, that the lectures I'm delivering, okay, those are nothing but messages. Okay, and I'm persuading you to learn it, and I hope it is working. All right, so let's move on to the target. Okay, so basically people tend to give more attention to the messages that are personally relevant to them. If I like an ad about, let's say I'm dealing with tooth pain, if I like an ad about Sensodyne, okay, I will go and buy it, something like this. Okay, another thing which I just okay, I didn't mention it, but people of low intelligence and low self-esteem are generally easier to persuade. I think you can understand this. Okay, example is the rural population have more affinity towards Nukkad Natak for persuasion, while educated people see logical reasoning, facts, figure, researches, which I just explained, that how a politician will act differently in an urban area or a rural area. Okay, or even a slum area and a developed area in the city. Okay, one, 2, 3 more principles are there that don't basically hurt the ego of the person. with whom you are trying to with whom you are trying to deliver the message. Not with whom. Don't hurt the ego of the person to whom you are trying to deliver the message and to whom you are trying to persuade. Okay. Okay. So why this is important? Because a civil servant will deal with a lot of people in their careers. Okay. So this understanding is important for a civil servant, as he or she has to, deal with a lot of people from different socio-economic backgrounds. Right, that he or she has to deal with a lot of people from different socio-economic backgrounds in different circumstances. Okay, so first of all, people are from different backgrounds and in different situations. Okay, so understanding how to deal with that target audience and how to basically persuade someone. I'm not just talking about the target audience, but why persuasion or studying in persuasion is important for a civil servant, because they deal with a lot of different people from different economic backgrounds, socio-economic backgrounds in different situations. So knowing how to persuade them by having different models in their mind, they can, let's say, effectively provide solutions in complex situations. Okay. All right. So that is why application based questions are more asked in these topics. Okay. So what is necessary for a successful persuasion? It is important that the information that is being passed to the receiver, it is received in the form intended by speaker. Okay. And it is understood by the audience, then retained and internalized. So if this is done in a good way, then the result is that you are successfully persuaded and the attitude and behavior of the target group or person is changed. Okay. Now the crux of persuasion process, the whole process can be summarized in, this is who, what and whom. So what is who? Basically, who says what? Okay, this is the, okay, who says what to whom? Who says what to whom? Okay, with what effect? Effect means attitude changes or not. Okay, or degree of attitude change. If it changes, then degree of attitude change, otherwise changes or not change. Okay, so who is the speaker? You might have understood, the source of communication. What is the message? Okay, to whom is the target audience or the message recipient, and with what effect? Either attitude is changed or not changed. If it is changed, then in what degree? Okay, like how much attitude is changed in an audience? 30% effective, 50% effective, 100% effective. Like in some political rallies, you see that from the cheer itself you can understand if the message was received by the people or not. All right. Okay, what are the techniques? Till now we have studied the models, okay, and how to persuade, okay, or what are the elements of persuasions, basically what are the factors, okay, on which the success depends. Now we'll see the techniques, how you can actually apply it in real life. So according to Robert Cialdini, there are 6 methods of persuading people. We'll see them one by one quickly. So basically these are the factors that influence us to say yes. Okay, see, question can be asked in any way. It can be asked in this way, techniques of persuasion, or it can be asked as factors that influence the persuasion, okay, or your level of persuasion. Okay, let's quickly see this. First is commitment and consistency. So basically this is about, first you commit and then you consistently follow it. Commitment is you agree to do something. Okay, so once you agree to do something publicly, to something, or committed to someone or something, we are more likely to go through it. Okay, then consistency means likely to do it again and again. So first you commit publicly and then it is most likely you will do it first time and then you will do it again and again. Okay, example is when people identify with a political party. Okay, when they allow it, when they follow someone and they tell people about it, obviously during voting they will vote for that party and they will do it over and over. Okay, so commitment and consistency, and these are all what techniques of persuasion. Okay, so you get people to commit publicly, okay, and consistently. For example, if you want donation from somebody, you better than asking 500 rupees in a month or 600 rupees in a month, you ask for 50 rupees for in 12 months. Most probably they will agree to this. Okay, so that is how you can change, by asking their commitment, or this is why oaths etc are taken in public. Okay, oath of ministers and all that. Okay, oath in courts. All right, let's move on to the next point, similarity. Okay, so basically I think this is clear from the word itself. It basically means liking. Okay, you like people who are like you. As simple as that. You tend to follow whom you like. So basically people feel validated and they are more influenced by something or someone, okay, with which they can relate, or basically like. Simple funda is liking. Okay, so that is why persuasion from family and friend is much easier, okay, rather than an unknown person. You must have faced this also. If there is a relative that comes and you don't like that relative, or they are basically not someone you know much, okay, dur ke relative, okay, they are not someone you are close to. So if they advise something and versus your parents advising the same thing, who will you follow? Or let's say the relative advises one thing but the parents advise something opposite to it. So what will you do? You will most probably do what your parents said, right? So basically, example we can take of Arvind Kejriwal. His party's name is Aam Aadmi Party, and you must see that how he dresses. Okay, in simple clothes. Okay, simple dressing, middle class. Okay, so there is a reason for it, right? Okay, because he wants to appeal to that strata of society, lower middle class, okay, such people, because they are larger in numbers. Okay, so basically people will do something when he says that, okay, and people of that strata of society will also get affected like that. Let's move on to the next point, authority. Again, this is quite self-explanatory, that most of us are raised with respect for authority, like especially like father is the authority figure in the Indian family. Okay, all right. So whether it's a local hero, a celebrity, or a politician, average person will accept what a figure of authority says without really questioning it. This is important. Okay, so when a person with authority comes and tells you something, you most probably do not find the reason behind it, you just do it. Okay, that is why in the ad of toothpaste and all that, okay, a person with a coat, white coat, is basically pictured because that shows authority. And we have discussed this before also. Okay, why a coat is more effective? Okay, because the source, credibility of the source matters. Okay, also like Ayurvedic products. Just imagine if somebody sells it to you wearing saffron color robe or saffron robe, or somebody sells it to you in western clothes, from whom you will buy it more readily? From this one, right? So that is the authority. Okay, all right. Basically this means that people want to be part of the majority. In one line, people want to be part of the majority and not the minority. Okay, and how does it work in persuasion? You appeal to the majority culture. Okay, much easier to persuade people. Like, so many people are following the law, why don't you follow the law? Okay, so basically when people are not sure of their decision, they look at the behavior of majority of people. Like if you are standing at a traffic light and you don't want to cross but you are confused, okay, so you don't want to basically break the red light, okay, and start going before your light turns green. Okay, so if other people start honking, okay, or other people in the row start moving, okay, you also think, okay, when they are doing, why can't I do it? Okay, why can't I break the traffic signal? So basically we decide what is right and what is wrong based on what other people think, the majority thinks. Okay, but this leads to one big issue, ethical blindness. That is, if majority of people are ignoring child marriages, are ignoring child labor, we also tend to ignore it because it is acceptable by the majority. Okay, all right. Now let's come to the reciprocity. Okay, basically people tend to return favors. This is seen a lot in political arena or elections. They tend to give freebies, right? Politicians tend to give freebies. Why? So that you will feel guilty or you will feel obligated to reciprocate to them, okay, and vote for them. Basically simple. It's a very old method of give and take, right? So politician during election is the best example. Okay, all right. So reciprocity is what creates a real connection between you and your supporters if you are the politician. So sometimes you have to give to get something in return. Give to get. Okay, so basically people to whom you gift something, they are more likely to be persuaded by you. Okay, for example, at the launch of new product, some buy one get one free is given, okay, or some small product is given of the same company with the actual product they are launching. So this is the reason. Okay, reciprocity is the reason. This is ingrained in our mental attitude. Okay, all right, let's come to the scarcity factor. Okay, basically it simply means if there is something in less amount, you want it more, right? Okay, so as humans we want something more when it is less available. Okay, so if you create scarcity of it, people are likely to go for it more. So less is more. Okay, so everyone, many people are vulnerable, almost everyone is vulnerable, I would say, to scarcity. Okay, opportunities which come basically less are valued more. Okay, hard to get things are valued more. So if a politician says that we have come after so 10-15 years, okay, this is the chance for you, for us, to vote for us, so that we can get you the development you need and such things. Okay, they will show that what last party has done in 10-15 years and so on. Okay, so basically fear of losing is a powerful motivator. Okay, so basically we want something when it is available less, we want it more. Okay, here you tell the people that this thing is available in limits. Okay, for instance, example, online shopping portals use this option to persuade large number of shoppers. Let's say sales. Okay, sales happen for 2 to 3 days. Okay, right now a lot of sales are happening on Amazon and Flipkart. Okay, but for Prime members, for Amazon, Prime members have sale basically few hours before it is open for everybody else. Okay, so that works at two level. For first come first serve, it works for let's say the Prime members, they get the best deal. Okay, and other people also start shopping in the first day once the sales open, because they will think that the deals will go. Okay, so such things are applied. Okay, scarcity, they are trying to influence your shopping behavior, right? So this is how you change something. Okay, this also you can say that right now conditions are good, please prepare for UPSC and all that. Okay, due to corona many things have basically faced a downturn, we all know that, but for many people they are getting time to study. Okay, this is one huge opportunity, so why not utilize it? Okay, all right, so we are done with these. Okay, influence, the 6 factors. Okay, basically techniques, not factors or techniques of persuasion. This is a colorful diagram which you can basically take a screenshot of, and basically it is easier to remember when we are visual learners. Okay, so it will be better for you to remember it. Okay, this is from the same model, same things that we have discussed over here. Okay, all right, now let's move on. All right, so now we are moving to the next part of this topic, which is models of persuasion, which we also saw earlier, but this one also, this is practical things. Okay, so how Aristotle told you can influence. Okay, by ethos, pathos and logos. Ethos is credibility. Okay, basically it terms, ethos actually means ethics in Greek. Okay, here it is representing the credibility of the person, okay, who is communicating. Credibility of whom? Of the communicator. Okay, it can be established by status, sorry, not communication. The credibility can be established by status. Okay, celebrity status, celebrity. Okay, what else? By research, that I have done this research, please you can listen to me. Okay, pathos is emotion. Okay, Greek for emotion. Basically here, how, here it means how audience feels, how audience, basically your target feels, okay, or experience the message. So basically by this you can make people feel sad, angry, excited, jealous, okay, or anything. Basically you can take the audience to a state of emotion, okay, to persuade them. Logos is logic. Okay, logic you understand, I think, right? Here it represents facts. In this model it represents facts. Okay, then research, basically anything that will stand as a proof, that will appeal to the rational part of the person. You might be seeing that this is similar to the cognitive part, this is similar to the affective part, okay, of the attitude. Okay, so you use logos, logic, to convince the audience, okay, that you are telling something that is well researched, okay, and worth their time. Okay, now we can see it in detail. Aristotelian model is based on ethos, pathos and logos. Okay, ethos is the character of the speaker, okay, how ethical you are. Okay, then the person can motivate people more by the character, by his own character or her own character. Okay, if they see, you are bound to listen to a doctor more, right, a real doctor. Okay, simple as that, the character of the person who is delivering the message. Pathos is the emotion or the disposition of the audience. It is an emotional persuasion in which the argument, emotions are targeted. Okay, logic, the speech itself, okay, appealing the logic of the audience. In this, persuasion is done by, as I said, facts and logical arguments. Okay, we have already discussed this in this slide, it is just the written representation of what we discussed. Okay, here, now that we have seen all of this, okay, models and all that, sorry, now that we have seen models and everything, okay, now what do you think, what is the most effective technique? See, basically whatever technique that leads to the best combination of ethos, pathos and logos, ethos, pathos and logos, that is the best persuasion or the most effective technique. Here I'll take one very good example of Kailash Satyarthi. He is able to lead, Kailash Satyarthi, he is able to lead a mass movement, okay, just like Gandhi ji. Okay, why? Because he appealed by logic, okay, he appealed by pathos and he appealed by ethos. So how he appealed through logic? By facts and figures related to child labor. Okay, facts and figures related to child labor. Pathos, basically emotional appeal. Okay, how did he do that? By appealing to their compassion of people for donation and support and love for children, right? Empathy, compassion, love. Okay, and ethos, basically his own struggle. He established his credibility by getting a Nobel Prize. Okay, he also sacrificed a lot in his own life to serve the cause of children. Okay, to secure their right. So basically, this is the example you can directly use in examination of ethos, pathos, and logos. Although directly all these things won't be asked, but now you understand what are the steps that are involved in changing someone's attitude or how to persuade people. And I also have discussed why it is important for civil servant, because they deal with a lot of different people of different backgrounds. Okay, all right. So the bottom line is, if you want to change minds, you must first move their hearts. Why? Because as I've told you before, if you remember, that if you first appeal to their cognitive part, they will retaliate with reasons. But if you like this photo is saying, if you capture their hearts, you're capturing their minds. Always remember Hridaya Parivartan theory of Gandhiji. Okay. All right. Finally, we come to the last part. Here I want to share a diagram with you. All right. So how does government influence people? Okay, government uses social influence on people. You can draw this in your exam. Okay, I found it very useful. Okay, by how? Now how does it do it? Basically by tools like socialization. We have discussed this before. Okay, obedience, persuasion, peer pressure, and so on. Okay, so basically this is basically social influence, right, which we just studied today. You can add more factors to it. Okay, social influence as a tool of public policy or public influence or public persuasion. All right, here moral appeal can also come. Okay, so you can add such things. Okay, this is one diagram which I wanted to share. All right, before finishing up this unit. So let's go through the session quickly so that you have a linkage between every topic. All right, so we started how attitude is formed. Okay, what it is a response. Okay, so we studied how there are different methods by which attitude formations or attitude change can be brought about. I have told you both are the same things almost, so if answer comes, you can include both the same answer in both of them. Okay, so Pavlovian conditioning, operational conditioning, okay, observation learning, genetic factors, direct instruction, modeling, and social comparison. Then we saw in functions how we can change it. We took an example. Okay, then we saw how why we should study. Okay, so because to change the society basically, right? Why study attitude? Again, by advertisement, how you can, now we saw the examples on how we can change the attitude. Okay, and the most important, this you can directly use it in answers. Okay, because this is a paper finally for UPSC. At the end of the day, it is paper for UPSC examination. So if you know administrative point of view, it would be wonderful. It will give you brownie points. Okay, and we have analyzed two schemes given by government itself. Okay, so it is important for civil servant. Okay, we have seen the importance. Then social influence. There are types of social influence. Okay, first of all, how do you get influenced? We saw that. Okay, persuasion is the main thing which we have to study. Okay, we started persuasion, we understood what it is. Okay, then we saw the model wherein there are 6 steps on how to, basically what are the things involved in persuasion. Okay, then we saw one model, another model. Okay, elaboration likelihood model. Then we studied about 2 paths in it. Okay, then we saw the success of influence depends on 3 things: source, message, and the target. We saw how source, trustworthiness, expertise, and likability affects persuasion, how the structure of message and the nature of message affects, how the nature of target audience affects. Okay, and what in order to do a successful persuasion, what needs to be done. Okay, techniques of persuasion. Okay, we saw 6 techniques: commitment and consistency, similarity, authority, consensus, reciprocity, scarcity. Okay, and this is a diagram. Okay, Aristotelian model of persuasion. Okay, ethos, pathos and logos. We saw what it is and how it affects the persuasion. We saw a good example of Kailash Satyarthi, of how he influenced people by his logic, pathos and ethos. What is the bottom line? Change the heart to change the minds. Then we saw a simple diagram, okay, which can be value addition. Okay, how social influence can be used as a tool of public policy. Let me just write it there. Public policy. Public policy or government policy. Okay. All right. In the next class, we are going to start with aptitude. Okay. So the practice question: giving examples of some social ills plaguing the society, discuss how social persuasion can be an effective technique to overcome them. Okay, please write this answer. Okay, it will be very helpful to you because we have discussed a lot of things today, so they will help you write an answer. Yesterday I gave almost all the answer in the paper, in the discussion only, but here some things you have to see. Okay, you have to make up an answer. We'll discuss this in the next lecture. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for your patience. I hope you learned something today. I hope you understood something today, and if there are any doubts, please let us know. We would be happy to resolve them for you. All right, chalo, thank you so much. See you in the next session. Bye everyone, take care.